What's up, everybody? Hopefully all of you are doing well. This year, I'm kicking off the holiday series with my cream cheese red velvet pound cake. This pound cake is decadent, but it's easy to make and even easier to eat. So let's get into it. I'm going to start by getting my dry ingredients together first because it just makes it easier on the end when it's time to mix it into the wet. I'm going to sift my all-purpose flour, or you can use cake flour, my cocoa powder, baking soda, and salt together, and I'm just going to sift it until it's nice and airy. You need 2.5 cups of flour and a half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. For the exact measurements to this recipe, be sure and check out gdseasoning.com. The link is not only going to be in the description box below this video, but now I'm also going to put it in the comment section. Look for my name, it's going to be the top comment. So at this point, I've added the baking soda and the salt to the cocoa powder and flour, and now I'm just going to sift. We're going to sift that to give it some air, and this helps get the lumps out of that flour and that cocoa powder. And see what's left in the sifter? You just want to go ahead and push that right on through. All right, the dry ingredients is done. Now we're going to move on to our cream cheese and our butter. That is 1.5 cups of unsalted room temperature butter, along with 8 ounces of room temperature cream cheese. And we just want to make sure we get that nice and whipped before we start adding the sugar. I'm going to mention in the written recipe how many times you need to stop and scrape this bowl down as you go. Because we're dealing with a red velvet cake, you need to stop often and scrape your bowl down, because if you don't, what you're going to end up with is white swirls through the red cake, and they'll be able to be seen really easily. So here I'm showing you how to stop and scrape down the bowl. Once the eggs are added, we added 6 eggs, one at a time, making sure each one was thoroughly mixed before adding the next. Next, I'm going to go in with my pure vanilla extract, a little bit of just regular brewed coffee, and I also have a little bit of vinegar, which is going to give us a salute to the standard red velvet layer cake. And lastly, I'm going in with about 3 tablespoons of red food coloring. That probably means you're going to have to buy 2 of those little 1-ounce bottles to make this recipe work. Right after you add that food coloring, again, I'm going to tell you to stop and scrape your bowl down to make sure all of your wet ingredients is red before you add your dry ingredients, okay? So make sure you go ahead and click that recipe link so you'll know when to stop. Now you can see here, just as the dry ingredients got mixed in, I took the bowl off of the mixer just to make sure everything was thoroughly mixed from the bottom. I put it back on, let it go around a couple of more times, and the batter is completely ready, nice and fluffy and thick. All right, on this particular day, I baked 2 cakes. One, I did switch the ingredients out a little bit, but particularly I buttered and floured one bundt pan, and then I use baking spray for the other. So I'll show you the results of both, and I'll recommend which one you should use, which is going to be the baking spray. All right, so we're going to bake this at 325 degrees for 1 hour and 20 to 30 minutes, but start checking it at the 1 hour and 20 minute mark. When the cake comes out, it is absolutely beautiful and it smells wonderful. You can smell the hints of chocolate in it. And then we're just going to let it cool in the pan for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to invert it. I played with this recipe during the summer, and it is my screensaver. It's been my screensaver ever since. So I'm just going to invert it, and we're going to let it completely cool before we put our frosting on it. Now this is the result of using flour and butter. This cake up here looking ashy, letting everybody know she used butter and flour. It's better to go with the baking spray, and you can see the result of that here. The baking spray that I use is Pam Baking Spray, and the can says it on the can. And I think another good brand is Baker's Joy or something like that. Those are some good ones to use. We're going to move on to our quick cream cheese frosting. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. They're nice and soft. I just whip those together until they're nice and smooth, and then I added 1 cup of confectioner sugar, powdered sugar. And I'm just going to whip that until it's nice and mixed together. So we need this frosting to sit on top of the cake, but I didn't want it to run across the cake. So I had to be real careful. What I'm adding is half and half. Now half and half gave me that happy medium between using milk and heavy cream. So I used 6 tablespoons. You can use 8, but just see the result first and see if you like the one with 6 tablespoons. Also to the frosting, I'm adding some vanilla extract and a little bit of salt. And I'm just going to whip everything together. That is the last 2 tablespoons of the total of 6 that I used of the half and half. And I'm just going to mix that together. For those of you that live out of the US, half and half is basically half whole milk and half heavy cream. So you can use the equivalent to that, or you can use 3 tablespoons of milk and 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. So now that we're frosting the cake, you can actually see how this cream cheese frosting is going to sit on top of this cake. It doesn't do a lot of running down the sides, if you notice. It also does not get hard. So it is going to keep this exact same consistency. Also, I would suggest you frost this cake just before serving, because once you put the frosting on, you're going to have to put it in the refrigerator, especially if you make it the night before. So you can pretty much maneuver this frosting and get it to go where you want it to go. And you can see it's not really dripping a whole lot. So all you have to do now, add your pecans. It's ready to go. This cake is so decadent and creamy and moist, especially when it sits on the tongue. It just kind of melts. If you guys love my cream cheese lemon pound cake, you're going to love this particular cake. If you like this video, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I want to say welcome to all of my new subscribers. I do have some new ones that have joined us. I'm so glad you decided to cook with me. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Again, thanks for joining me. You know, I appreciate it when you come cook with me and hang out. Don't forget, this recipe and others can be found at gdseasoning.com. And I'll see you guys next time.